excitement machine that is Rishabh Pant, someone you've spent a lot of time with, the Delhi Daredevils. What do you make of him as a player and a character?
It's a bit hard to put your finger on him as a player or a character, to be totally honest. I'm trying to explain it perfectly well, because what you see with his cricket is exactly what he is off the field. He's a fun-loving, energetic, always laughing, loud, and you always know when he's in the room. You always know when he's playing cards, or you always know when he's about to walk into a team meeting. If you think about those things, it's exactly what he's like on the field. You've heard him behind the stumps. We've all heard him behind the stumps, and the way he constantly talks through the course of a day. And then we've seen what he does with the bat, whether it be T20 cricket, 50 over cricket, or some of his unbelievable knocks in Test cricket. That's just him, and you don't want to ever try and curb or curtail that. He'll work it out. He'll learn and work it out for himself. But I say it to a lot of the guys around, as you say, around the Delhi Capitals with him, you take the good with the bad, because if you try and curtail the good, then he'll just become another player. He'll just be the same as everybody else. And right now he's different than most. So we feed him as much rope as he needs and let him go out and play. And last year he led the team really, really well. And we obviously had a disappointing finish to our IPL campaign last year. But I think, with him at the helm again this year, that'll make him a better leader and make us a stronger franchise. And I can't wait to get back and work with him again. I must admit, whenever I get to training, he's one of the first ones I look for, because I know I can always do some stuff with his batting, and he will come looking for me as well for a bit of advice on different things. So, around leadership or around his batting. So I've loved every moment of working with him.
How do you compare his attitude and his ability to your great mate Gilly?
Yeah, a little bit the same. Look, I'm not. Let's. I know Rishabh's really burst onto the scene, but I guess let's just let him play his 40, 50, 60 Test matches first before we start making comparisons to, one of the all-time great wicket-keeping batsmen. But if you think about their personalities, Rishabh a lot more outward, a lot louder, a lot noisier, ultra competitive. Gilly ultra competitive, a lot quieter, a lot more reserved would be the right way until he got his bat in his hand, and then he became exactly the same as Rishabh. And once the same thing with Gilly, he didn't want to talk to him about his batting at all. He was a wicket keeper in our team first and foremost, and he did probably 85% of his work on his wicket keeping. And if he felt like it, he'd go to the nets and have a hit a couple of times before a Test match. But that was about as. And if he hit him like a bloke that's never played the game before in the nets, it didn't worry him too much. He'd just go out in the middle the next day in a Test match and watch the ball and hit the ball, and more often than not, it was successful. But you couldn't try and tell him how to play. I remember having a conversation with him late in a Test match at the SCG against Pakistan. He and I were batting, so we must have been 4 or 5 down. There's maybe 3 overs left in the day, and of which Danish Canaria had to bowl 2 of them, and he was bowling around the wicket to Gilly into these big footmarks with a long on man, a deep mid wicket. And I sort of went down to him and said, "Look, let's just get through tonight. We've got a beautiful batting day tomorrow. This wicket's going to be good. There's a new ball around the corner. Just get through." And the next ball, he ran down the wicket, landed in the footmark, and hit it over Longod's head for 6. And I thought, well, it doesn't matter. It's no good me talking to him, because he's not listening anyway. But he got through the night. I don't know how he did, but he got through those few overs, and we went in and cashed in the next day anyway. But that probably sums. And Rishabh would be exactly the same. If you look at Rishabh, I'm not sure how many hundreds he's got now. Test hundreds, he might have 4 or 5, but he's got a few 90s in there, mixed in there as well. And he's actually got out trying to bring up his 100 with a 6, and that's the good and the bad, right? And that's what
brings people to the game. I love watching him. And I have to say, Gilly is a lot more attentive in the commentary box these days. He definitely listens in the commentary box. You talked there about a player that loves striking the ball, and Rishabh Pant. You've spent a lot of time in India with the IPL, of course. Who are the most exciting young players coming through the system?
Well, I hung on to one at the Delhi Capitals this year. One of our retained players is Prithvi Shaw, who we saw some just absolute brilliance from through the IPL season, or seasons as it was last year, with the postponement of the first part and the second part. Everyone's probably known a bit about him for the last couple of years. I still think he's learning a lot about himself as a person, learning a lot about himself as a player, and I'm not sure I've seen many better, to be totally honest. There's a few little technical flaws there that are going to be there with all young Indian players, especially when they're facing some of the best fast bowlers in the world, whether it be in T20 cricket or, as we've seen with with Prithvi, and a bit of a glimpse of his Test career to date. But he's just so talented. Another one that, and I said it to him, and we had a bit of a laugh and a joke about it. He has been quite difficult to coach because I haven't been able to try and work him out properly just yet. You know, he's someone that when he's not batting well, doesn't want to bat a lot. When he is batting well, wants to bat all the time. And that sort of went against the grain of what I sort of felt and knew as a player myself. But for me to get the best out of him, we'll just let him go and get himself organised and sorted. And some of the stuff he showed us last year was magnificent. So keep an eye on him again in a couple of months when the IPL starts. I'm sure he's still got a very bright international career ahead of him as well. The other one that I thought was absolutely outstanding, and this is I've only seen him in T20 cricket, but that's Gaikwad from Chennai last year. With Rishabh Gaikwad, he ended up being part of a winning IPL team, a young guy that got a chance at the start of the season. Everyone knew was a nice player, like a more of a technically correct sort of player, but by the end of the IPL, he was doing some amazing things, some brilliant knocks, and he's someone that's going to play. I'm sure going to play all three formats as well for India in the coming years. So on the batting side of things, there are those couple there. You know, we had Avesh Khan at Delhi Capitals last year, who had an unbelievable good IPL season, has been included in a couple of Indian squads going ahead. But I mean, if you look around all the IPL teams and squads now, the depth of Indian cricket is just unbelievable. You know, these young guys that are coming and bursting onto the scene. We've seen, even with that Test series in Australia, last summer, that completely depleted Indian team, and some were probably even
21 players they used.
Exactly, yeah. So they're down to their second and almost third string team. We're still able to draw a Test match in Sydney and win a Test match in Brisbane against Australia at full strength. So that one it says about how good the talent is, but two, it says that they're actually ready to step up and play, and they're not scared of the international stage. And I think a lot of that comes from the exposure they get from IPL. You know, they're playing with all the best players in the world. A lot of them, they're playing under probably all the best coaches in the world. They're all in that system, and give them a couple of years of IPL, I'm sure they take that back to their domestic cricket and dominate there. And then when they get the chance for India, then you can see they cherish it. They relish the opportunity to do it, and they're not scared of anyone.